Hello guys and welcome back to yet another video. Well, I'm finally back from holiday, and if you want to be spammed by lots of holiday photos, feel free to follow my Instagram that's linked in the description below. Now we've got to open up a package that came all the way from Austria to little old Adelaide in South Australia. If you too would like to send me something, my parcel post address is in the description below. It also turns out that only about 15% of the people watching my videos are subscribed, so be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on. Digging into the box, we've got a healthy dose of packing peanuts as well as a letter from Alexander. He says the laptop was used for field service and he personally used it up until very recently. The letter also mentions a CPU upgrade as well as a maxed out 4GB of RAM. First to come out is the rather compact laptop, as well as various documents along with an actual docking station. Thankfully, the charging brick was also included. With one final layer of plastic out of the way, I can see that it is indeed a Fujitsu Siemens Lifebook, a brand partnership that I'm pretty sure doesn't make any sorts of computers anymore. Overall, the laptop is in very good condition and has clearly been looked after. I'm going to guess that the Core 2 Duo sticker was added after the CPU upgrade. Now, has it actually survived shipping? I think it's time we power it on and find out. Relievingly, it sprung into life with a T9300 Core 2 Duo processor and 4GB of RAM. Both Linux and Windows 7 are installed on the hard disk. I'm definitely far more familiar with Windows 7. Not so much when it's not in English though. The battery seems to be holding a charge and the system functions fine. Now that I know that it does indeed work, I'm going to put in a cheap SATA SSD and redo the thermal paste. The first thing that stuck out to me on the base is the ability to remove the CPU dust filter. This is something I've never actually seen on any other laptop. With the battery removed and a few Phillips head screws later, we've got access to all of the components we want. That pesky RAM was hiding under this little door. Another design feature I absolutely love is the easy access to the CPU. In most laptops, you'd have to extensively disassemble them to remove the CPU heatsink. With a quarter turn of the release mechanism, I can take a closer look at the processor. This has indeed been upgraded from the stock CPU. The T9300 is one of the best CPUs you can fit in this laptop. I used some isopropyl alcohol to clean the die, which now looks pretty shiny. This paste definitely wasn't applied too long ago. However, I'd much rather use Arctic MX4, which I know does a decent job. With both the heatsink and CPU cleaned off, I applied the new thermal paste. Perhaps a little bit too much, but it will spread thinly over the die once the cooler is back in place. Next up, it's time to replace the old mechanical hard disk. This crucial BX500 will boost the laptop's responsiveness and make for a much better experience. Switching over the drive caddy is as easy as removing two Phillips head screws. With a little bit of persuasion, the SSD fit in the slot. To help remove bacteria, I'm going to start with a dab of eucalyptus oil. Laptops can be deceptively dirty, and I'd highly recommend cleaning the surfaces if you buy one secondhand. To begin cleaning the display, I gently wiped it with an antibacterial cloth. With the smudges and debris removed, I used some lens cleaner and a microfiber cloth to get the surface looking really clean. With a little bit more eucalyptus oil, I cleaned the top of the case. Aside from some small marks, it's held up pretty well for a laptop that's nearly 13 years old. With it all back together, I turned the system back on. Thankfully it still worked and it does indeed detect the SSD. Now we're going to boot into my Windows 10 installer and, you guessed it, install Windows 10. With the drive formatted, the install could finally begin. About 20 minutes later, it was done. Now that we've got the laptop looking a whole lot cleaner, put some new thermal paste on and install the solid state drive, what is it actually capable of?
It was
Star Wars Battlefront 2 is playable, if somewhat choppy, running at 1280 by 800 lowest settings. The Intel GMA graphics are without a doubt the bottleneck with this system. The newest graphics drivers I could find wouldn't load any OpenGL applications, which sadly means no Minecraft. This may have more to do with me running this outdated hardware with Windows 10 though. A far older title, Age of Empires 2 runs great. If this didn't run well, I'd be very concerned. Old school RuneScape is also a great experience. Back in 2007, this is exactly what I was playing. Times sure were much simpler back then.
Hello guys and welcome
High definition YouTube playback was nice and smooth. It's also fairly hard to film this screen. Normally I do not have any problems filming LCD displays.
31 years ago to this.
CPU performance in Cinebench R15 wasn't amazing, which is expected. It scored 134. Running the test again, the CPU didn't exceed 74 degrees Celsius even under full load, which means the thermal paste is definitely doing its job. For such a compact 13-inch laptop, you still got features such as an optical drive, 3 audio jacks, Firewire, Ethernet, PC card, VGA under a little flap, as well as a slot to put a 3G SIM card in. But if that's not enough for you, the easily detachable dock expands your options even further. Perhaps that's a little bit too much expansion.
Not only is this laptop fairly zippy with the SSD installed, it's also very compact and really well built.
For a device made in 2007, I'd say it was truly ahead of its time. While the Fujitsu Siemens brand don't seem to make laptops anymore, Fujitsu on their own actually do. Honestly, have you ever seen anyone recently using a brand new Fujitsu laptop?
This German-made device is very easy to upgrade and quite functional with a few basic upgrades. Thank you very much for watching. If you've liked what you've seen, definitely feel free to leave a like. And if you want to see more, definitely consider subscribing. And if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll see you in the next video.